Happy Tuesday. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. It's a very good day today. I'm joined by Mr. Dan Murrell.
Hello.
Who I enjoy very much.
Yes, and likewise.
Yeah, Mr. Joe Starr, who we did not murder.
Yay!
Yay! Some
Yet.
people were wondering where Joe was. We didn't kill him, thank God. Or if we did, we dug him up.
Neither did the flu.
You're feeling better, yes?
Nope.
I hate you so
Excellent.
much.
Everyone's infected. You know who I love? You. Danielle Radford is with us today, and this is one of my favorite days because I love all of these people, and we're about to talk about an awesome final. It was actually a TV spot, but we're calling it a trailer because that's just easier. For Black Panther, it's an extended look, and it's a lot of what we have seen already, but we've seen a couple of new things here. Here's my only concern. I love this so much. I am so excited about this movie. This is my #1 most anticipated superhero movie, definitely this year. One of my most anticipated films. Am I overhyping myself, Dan?
Don't overhype. I try not to overhype myself about anything. I try not to over or underhype myself because generally, very few things live up to the hype that you build up to something in your brain. And if you walk in with an expectation of, I will only accept this level of quality, then you get into some tricky subjects, some tricky areas. So
I agree.
I try not to.
I'm mostly at this point like if this was like not my job, I swear I would like put myself in one of those good place cocoons and like never listen to anything because like I don't want to hear too much about the movie. I am ready to go into it with my finest grandma's African print and just be ready to go.
Did you get anything else out of this trailer? Did you see any new things?
I saw a few things. There was a nice moment with Shuri that was really great, but most of it seemed, there was expanded. I think that chase scene in South Korea looked gorgeous. Oh, it looked beautiful. And that's one of those things where I'm like, I'm a little bummed that it was kind of spoiled, but it's also, I like that they've established that is the look and feel of Black Panther from Civil War he's just going to be jumping on cars.
Do you feel like in Ryan Coogler we trust? Like, can I get too hyped, or is this just going to be an amazing movie?
No, about halfway through Creed, I stopped getting really impressed at how well they were continuing sort of the arc and themes of Rocky through this new character, and started to realize how well shot the movie was. And just about, I don't know, somewhere about halfway through, I stopped coasting on just like, da-da-da. And I was just like, oh my God, this movie's like really good. And so I'm really excited about Coogler doing this. I think it's going to be just a really well-made movie. If I have any hype, it's that we've talked about this a lot. I was starting to get really sick of Marvel films. I didn't like Doctor Strange. Civil War didn't do a lot for me. And I was getting to the point where it was the assembly line, and then Taika Waititi said, "No, here's 2 hours of just pure insanity," and now here's Coogler giving us something that just feels and looks completely different too. So I'm excited that Marvel's kind of taking some turns.
That, Joe. Great segue. And if we had a segue graphic for you, we would use it now, but we don't. So I'm going to do this. And that's Joe's segue.
I like it. That's fine. Yeah, just hula
So
off
I just want to
my
note
segue.
that Billy, our producer, went like this. His entire shame and embarrassment for me, I feel in my heart, so thank you. So this is what he said about superhero fatigue. There have been a lot of superhero movies made. As a comic book and superhero film fan myself, I feel like we've seen a lot of this at this point. I think that the cultural element of Black Panther and how cultural specificity takes a big role in the film, that's what makes it quite unique. I'm excited to see more superhero movies, but there hasn't really been a film about a character like T'Challa before. I think that you can't ignore the idea of representation and also the excitement around Marvel Studios. He said this in an interview with Fandango. Thoughts?
I agree. I do. Obviously, if you look on Black Twitter, Black Panther is lit. Like, we can't avoid that. Like, we are ready. We are ready. We've been ready, and we're super ready. And just seeing the amount of toys that have come out, they have now those like Panther gloves that you can buy, and are what for kids, not me yet.
Oh.
Am I huge? I know. Make them an adult size, but they have them now for kids, and like you can't. It's sometimes people will say things like, you can't be what you can't see, and how representation matters. And a lot of that can get to be like a very clinical and boring and unfun discussion. But like, when you look at kids geeking out at seeing a bunch of those Funko Pops and those Panther gloves, like, that's when it becomes visceral, and it's like, yes, this is, yeah.
It does. You're right. When you see a little kid getting excited about a character, that's when it brings it home for me too. I think there's something about the sweetness and the innocence of that. Dan, what do you think? Superhero fatigue?
I mean, a little bit. I liked Guardians 2 and Thor Ragnarok. They're both movies that I enjoyed, but I kind of felt about those the way that I think you felt a little bit about Doctor Strange and to a certain extent to Civil War. I felt like they had kind of fallen into a rut last year of like, we have this sketch thing where we're going to give a really visually interesting director. We're going to throw in some humor, maybe where it doesn't fit. Sometimes we need X amount of laughs, and I was kind of starting to get, as much as I enjoyed those movies, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see how this is going. A little bit. It's not to say that it's bad. It's just when we were on 17 of these things, and it's like how there's only so many things. So I'm just more excited about the fact that I love Coogler. I think he's a great director. I don't know if they've had a director quite like him doing a movie in the MCU before. I love that he's coming from a specific point of view. I think that there's so many ways you can sell a comic book movie. That's how you sell a comic book movie. 10% of what I loved in Wonder Woman was in the trailer, and 90% of what I loved in Wonder Woman was in the actual body of the movie. And that's kind of how I feel about Black Panther. Is I'm excited for it just in general as a movie. Marvel has a good track record, and more than what they're going to show me on TV, I'm interested to see what does Ryan Coogler bring to this film. Where is it coming from? That's what I'm more excited to see, is like, what does his vision of this character look like?
Yeah, I agree. That's super exciting, because I feel like a lot of the movies that they're good, they're great. But at this point, we are lucky enough and #blessed enough that we know what a superhero movie looks like, and we know we can make that work. So now that we're at the point where we can start getting superhero movies that have not preachy or anything like that, but just have a director's point of view, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I hope we get more of that.
I hope we do too. And I hope that everyone at this table includes a hashtag in whatever important point they have to make today. Joe, it's on you
Hashtag sure.
next. Damn it, cheat. You will be excited to learn that this is tracking at $90 million for its opening weekend. That's about $5 million above what Doctor Strange did. So very healthy opening.
Suck it, Doc.
Potentially. Because I just assume now that you just want to take down Doctor Strange. That's
Hashtag
what I'm taking.
suck it, Doc.
Suck it, Doc.
Well, but tracking also is notorious.
It's hard to say.
It's completely, it's essentially useless, because if you look at what Justice League was tracking at
I am
versus
here
what it
to
opened,
provide
and what Wonder
your
Woman was
uselessness.
tracking at versus, I'm not saying you're useless, I'm saying the tracking has proven to be notoriously unreliable. We're a month, a little bit, 5 weeks out, I think, from the release of the movie.
I think that
reviews will play a part. I think word of mouth will play a part. There's a baseline, I think, but
it'll help
if
grow.
it has fantastic reviews, I mean, look what happened with it.
Yeah.
That's a movie that was projected to open at $70 million and had, I think the second or third best opening of the year. So a lot of it is going to be word of mouth, reviews, buzz. What are people saying?
Something interesting about that too is that now, back in the old days of 4 years ago, every superhero movie was a tentpole film, and now we have Marvel tentpole films and Marvel films.
Yeah,
like
this is a
your
Marvel
Avengers
film, yeah.
films are going to be your tentpoles, whereas a Black Panther might have to rely on a couple days worth of go see it, which is weird. An interesting place to be. But I'm excited about that opening weekend, largely also because you and I went to McDowell's, and I just remember us sitting there and trying to eat a Zamunda shake, and you just being like, there are so many excited Black movie fans at here, and just everybody just like quoting Coming to America, and just like this is our movie, and someone's pointing it out and saying, yeah, it's important and it's a good movie, and sort of validating our love for it. And
Right.
I think McDowell's on a bigger scale for this opening week.
Zamunda shakes for everyone.
For everyone. No, actually, no. That was a bad.
It was kind of
a
too
rough
much.
shake. It was too much.
Really too much.
It was a chocolate cake on a milkshake.
That doesn't
too
sound-
much.
It did
Yeah,
look
I don't know about
amazing
that.
in the footage. I'm going to argue and say that there is nothing bigger than McDowell's. However, just as big as McDowell's will do.
Their
I'm
buns
gonna
have no seeds.
Yeah.
I'm going to have some more useless facts for us later. But for now, let's have a spot of tea and talk about the BAFTAs. And if we... I had a lot of coffee this morning.
I could tell something's going on.
I'm at like, I don't give an F o'clock. But the BAFTAs did come out.
Irish coffee that you have?
That's my favorite.
I don't give an F.
I don't give a spot of an F. The BAFTAs came out. Can we take anything away from them about what the Academy Award nominations will look like?
Take it away, new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Oh, I'll be gone in a year. I think it won't be a year. It'll be far less than that, Joe. Best film is Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Three Billboards, which continues to do very, very well. Outstanding British, and we had a discussion about this.
We did have a discussion about this.
Outstanding British film is Darkest Hour, The Death of Stalin, God's Own Country, Lady Macbeth, which is a film that I didn't mention in my top 10, but it's great. If you guys haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out. Very dark. Paddington 2, which I think we all know how I feel about Paddington. We'll be reviewing that this week. And again, Three Billboards. Now, Dan,
Yeah.
how is this a outstanding
Well,
British
the
film?
outstanding British film, the qualifications are that it has to have substantial creative involvement from a British artist. So Three Billboards with Martin McDonagh qualifies 100%.
Because
for
it is
that.
Martin McDonagh who is the
He
writer
wrote and
director of
directed,
the
yeah.
film.
Also, Ebbing does sound like a village somewhere in
does.
England.
Epic.
Yeah.
That Joe made a good though irrelevant point, and that is why I love you. Best director,
Wow.
this is exciting.
Jeez.
What? That was no way a slam.
I missed y'all.
That was legitimately not a slam at all.
Good point, Joe. Not relevant to our discussion, but good job. Anyway, let's move on.
I think that's my graphic. That's my graphic, right? Good, not relevant.
That was in no way a slam. That was pure, unadulterated, 100% grade A, the good stuff love. Denis Villeneuve, I'm very excited. I think you guys will be too, was nominated for Blade Runner, which is an incredibly well-directed film.
Also nominated for Blade Runner. You know, Stephen Colbert used to tout the Colbert bump from people that appeared on his show. I would like to say that we gave the Screen Junkies bump to editor Joe Walker,
Yes.
who was nominated for Blade Runner 2049. So, Joe, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think we
It
can...
has nothing to do with us
You
whatsoever.
can easily take credit for that. Golden Globe winner Guillermo del Toro also nominated Martin McDonagh. Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk. Dunkirk fans will be excited. And I am going to brutalize this, so forgive me. Luca Guadagnino for Call Me By Your Name. I did not terribly. Let's talk about this. Do we
rolled out
think
of
that
that.
we can take anything away from these? We have a bunch of other categories. I will say I'm delighted to see Annette Bening nominated for what was one of my favorite films this year, Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool. She needs more credit than she gets. So, what do you think? Can we take anything away from this that'll...
Well, for Best Director, I'm not so much surprised that Jordan Peele wasn't nominated, just because, and Get Out wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
This is a
only
very
because
British
this
list.
is the BAFTAs, and I do think Get Out was tied so closely to the moment in, not that it's irrelevant overseas, but it's tied so closely to this moment in the United States. So, you know, it would have been great to see that, but I'm not shocked that that maybe didn't translate as well to the BAFTAs. I am a little surprised, given that there is support for Lady Bird in the acting and screenplay categories, to again see. Not that, I mean, I don't know. The question's always like, well, who would you take out? I don't know, but I'm surprised to see Greta Gerwig not in the directing list. However, it's hard to, you know, I can't point at any of these nominees and say, like, they coasted in there, like Denis Villeneuve, and I mean, those are all really good. I mean, those are 5 of the best directed movies of the year. So it's hard for me to say that I would pull anyone out of that category. However, it would have been great to see Greta Gerwig in there. I hope that it's not a case where this narrative, it happened with Ben Affleck with Argo, where people recognize the film and they just seem to think that it was on autopilot.
Yep.
And they don't think it was directed
Films
by
just make
anybody.
themselves.
They just make themselves,
Well,
right?
She just sits in that chair. It's so fancy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot of times to first-time directors because they want them to sort of earn their stripes a little bit before they start getting nominated for things. And whether that's right or wrong, that is frequently the case.
The BAFTAs are pulling a rib on Greta.
BAFTAs are tough to say is predictive for the. You made a joke and I didn't even notice. I'm so sorry.
For an audience of Danielle, it's fine.
I'm sorry. It's tough because they're not they're the British. Obviously, they're British, but it's also the best predictors for Oscars are the voting blocks, and the voting blocks are things like from SAG and from the producer guilds. The guilds are really good predictors because that's who's going to be voting ultimately at the Academy Awards. But what do you take away from this?
I don't think there's a whole lot of surprises here. I think Dunkirk finally, gets its day. I know a lot of people felt like it got snubbed at the Golden Globes. I like seeing Shape of Water get nominations. It's a beautifully directed film. I think we're slowly starting to get genre films like Shape of Water and Get Out, and even Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a beautifully directed, slick movie. But at the end of the day, I think in the eyes of the Academy and these award shows, it just gets the stamp of sci-fi movie. Like, go away. Right. So I'm glad that some of these films are finally starting to get their due. Paddington 2 getting
That's
an
great.
overall Best Picture
I like
nom
that. That makes me happy.
is
Yes.
awesome because
Have you seen it yet?
Yeah.
Oh,
It makes me happy.
Oh.
it's just oh no.
We can't.
Stop everything else to do with the show. Give
We
me
need
your
a Paddington
thoughts on
graphic.
Paddington.
Everyone was talking about it, and I was like, wait, we're talking about the little bear that I had when I
Yes.
was like 2?
That very bear.
And then I watched it, and I was like, oh, man.
Oh man.
Right?
I really
Thank
like that
you.
Paddington reaction.
That bear, that little Peruvian bear. Like, you can't. It was really, really well. I'm like, guys, I know it's Paddington. Go see it.
Thank you. And I've been telling them.
It has been. I know relentlessly. I feel like it's ruined for me because judging by Roth, Paddington is
Jesus.
the best movie ever made in the
watch
history.
I have Pad Life
That's
tattooed
not
across
true.
my
I
chest.
I have to tell
haven't seen
myself
it.
that I don't like it as much just based off the fact that it has been hyped relentlessly
I
for
would just
me.
say think of
It's
it.
cute.
Yeah, contextualize it in when you look at something like this could easily have been an Alvin and the Chipmunks. This
Yeah.
could easily have been a Smurfs and so many of these other movies. But it's not. It's good.
Yeah, I think to be fair,
I'm
Dan,
trying to
I
do
don't
it
want
in a way
to
that I'm not
overhype it for
spoiling.
you or for anyone else because the truth is I went into that first movie hating the trailers and thinking that it looked like the Uncanny Valley
Yep.
and that it was going to be an Alvin and the Chipmunks experience and terrible. And so it's this really very charming family film that is not an easy thing to pull off. And then the second one is equally charming, which is even harder.
Yep.
But put it in the context of it's a family film about this sweet bear.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's very enjoyable and
Yeah.
very heartwarming.
And look,
And there's the word tickety boo in it.
and look,
I'm shutting out Black Panther hype. I'm shutting out
Okay.
Paddington hype. I can't. I don't want to psych myself up.
I think
tonight.
it's just the sea change of making a good, entertaining family film that will stand the test of time is hard. Making a good comedy or a horror or a good sci-fi that will really stand the test of time is hard. And I'm glad we're starting to slowly see the sea change, where it's not like, hey, I made this beautifully crafted horror movie with tons of social commentary. Now get it the hell out of the room because it's time for the important artsy films. These are hard things to make and equally challenging, and I'm glad to see some of them getting their due.
That
do
was a
hope-
really great and salient point.
Thank you.
the one thing that I do hope carries over. Very relevant show, by the way.
Thank you, Dad.
No, the one thing I do hope that carries over though is Daniel Kaluuya, who was nominated for
Yes.
the
Yes.
Golden Globes when they split the categories. It can be like, oh, isn't it cool that person got nominated? in the
Yeah.
comedy category because there's 10 instead of 5. But I like that he got nominated for Best Actor here because
And he's British. Give
he's
him some love.
and he's British, but I hope that kind of carries over to because I think he should be considered, and you don't really hear him in the same Oscar talk category with a lot of the pool of nominees, and I think he should be in that pool.
Oh, he
I
should
think his name should
definitely.
definitely be in that pool, and I don't think it always is.
And when he comes up, it's always like, oh, he was in, that amazing episode of Black Mirror where he
Yeah.
did such a good job. And
Yeah.
he's in, an episode of Doctor Who where he did such a good job. And it's always like talking about how great he is in other things. And it's like, yeah, he's also really good in this. So you guys recognize that he is a really good actor who does really good work, but he's just not kind of getting that love. So I'm hoping that like his Britishness helps him.
Breaks through.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, he is the star of Get Out. And that is, to me, one of the best and one of the things that stood out from the film. For me, one of the best performances of the year. And he absolutely should be in the conversation. Sometimes actors make bad decisions. Even good actors make bad choices, you guys. That was the segue. And
really
Christian Bale is not exempt from that. And he's still got a few sour grapes from Terminator Salvation. So I don't know how this
good.
came up.
Oh,
I think
good
it's
for him.
Good for you. So speaking with MTV, God, it's amazing how that thing, I just saw it referenced in another show the other day, and that breakdown that he had on set is still the only thing anyone remembers from
Yeah.
Salvation.
It
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
100%.
That is grade A
Beautiful.
choice, capital A actor, capital D drama.
Yes.
That is just
It's good.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I-
if you don't know what we're talking
It
about.
narrowly edges out all of the I Heart Huckabee set breakdowns.
Yes.
Like just narrowly. Because it's like focused on a lighting guy and there's something it's just extra awkward
Well,
about
because
it.
I Heart Huckabee is a little too mean.
It's
Yes.
super
Like
mean.
that's
Yes.
it goes into abusive.
Yeah.
Where, if it was just Lily Tomlin, just like I want to break your lights, that would be funny. But then it gets weird
gets
and
bad,
creepy,
yeah.
and it gets bad. This is just pure, I love
Actor
it.
mouth. Okay, so it's a combination of you have to assume some kind of roid rage. If we're honest, that's
Yeah.
probably some kind of roid
Yeah.
rage. Because he was so
athletics
beefed up.
commissions aren't making actors P test to be
Yeah.
in movies where they are somehow bigger.
Yeah,
Like,
well, and he does the crazy thing of he's 2 pounds and then like ripped and 270 and like ready to rip down a building.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still doing that. You gotta stop,
You have to
dude.
stop.
You're
It's
getting
not
older. You
safe.
gotta knock that
Yeah,
off.
he just put
Die.
a bunch on
Yep.
to play Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
You gotta stop, seriously.
And then
It's
he's
not
going to
good.
lose it all again and eat. I had heard from The Machinist he ate 1 apple and a can of tuna a day.
Yeah, that's
in
not
order
good.
To lose that weight.
No,
That's
that's
not,
not good for
healthy,
you.
Christian.
And that's why when he was like, "Oh, I put on a bunch of weight for Batman," I was like, "Yeah, because you didn't eat for like the year before that." Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that is how it works.
And
No
so
wonder
he
you're
was
so cranky on
ripped.
set.
He was so rich.
Low blood sugar.
So what happened? What happened for you? If you guys don't know, look it up. But he had a pretty. I think everybody knows about this. A pretty infamous meltdown, and he yelled at the DP, I believe,
He's checking some lights.
who was checking some lights. And when I saw Salvation, I remember thinking, you had a meltdown at the only person that was doing their job on this film. Like the only thing that worked about this movie was the cinematography, and that's who you chose to yell at.
Yes.
Like
Accurate.
So he was talking about why he chose to do the film in the first place, and he said the following. I said no 3 times. I went, nah, there's no story there. Accurate. There's a perverse side to me where people were telling me that there's no way on God's earth that I should take that role, and I was thinking the same thing. But when people started verbalizing that to me, I started to go, oh, really? All right, well, watch this then. We did. So there was a little bit of that involved in the choice. So basically, he's saying that because people told him not to do it, that's why he did it. And I'm going to make a confession. I get that.
I get it.
totally
I
get
get
it.
it, but like, don't tell people that they have that power over you, because now, like now when Alvin and the Chipmunks, meets Terminator Salvation happens, and people just be like, no, don't do it. He'll be like, oi,
Is that a dare?
Sorry, that's my Christian. That's my
Good.
Oi.
No, keep going.
Oi,
Keep going.
I'm gonna hang out with them chipmunks. What?
I like it.
I totally get it. I have that thing too, where somebody tells me I can't do something, and I'm doubling down on how quickly I will prove
I
you.
mean, we all gotta stop
probably
doing.
right.
We all gotta stop doing that guy from Lost, where it's like, don't tell me what I can't do. No, sometimes you shouldn't do it.
Sometimes you should.
so often-
Sometimes people
so
have your
often.
best interests at heart when they tell you not to do something.
It's literally their jobs. That is what they.
Yeah.
Stop paying them.
There are so many Mick G caliber actors that role should have gone to, that I almost think it would have made the movie better. Like if it had just been like a made-for-TV McG movie starring Lorenzo Lamas or something. As
Oh yeah.
like,
Don't do that to me. You know I want that. Why would you do that to me?
it would have been a much better movie.
I'm going to be sad all day.
I'm trying to remember who else
Although
was
you
in
can
that
have
movie.
that in your head.
I don't remember at all.
But they were like movie stars. I just can't remember one other person that was in Terminator.
Bryce
Salvation.
Dallas Howard was in it.
Yeah.
What?
And
Really?
Sam
Worthington?
Worthington.
Back when we were
was in
trying
it?
to make
Back
him a
when
thing.
we thought he
When-
was like the next big thing.
We were
late
trying
2000s.
really
Yeah.
hard to make that dude a thing.
You know, the late
true.
2000s. Sam
Arnold
Worthington.
had a little moment in it.
Yeah, because he was like a
Arnold-
redneck,
the Arnold
right?
cartoon had a
Yeah.
moment in it. Yeah.
Common
Thank you,
was in
JT.
it.
Oh,
Thank you,
Common,
JT.
no, honey.
I remember
forgot about
more-
Common.
I remember more about this movie than I thought I did.
I was
Okay.
deeply disappointed in it because this
Yeah.
was, I believe, post Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
This was like right after the Dark Knight,
Yep.
like the year after, and it's the buzz around this. It looked cool. It's set in the future. Everyone was always just like, "Oh, enough with the past. Let's see the war." And it's like it's set in the future. It's actually
Yeah.
during this. It's like, okay, this looks awesome. And then I remember walking out, I was just like, "What was that?" Well, because they had the thing where the ending leaked, and everyone hated the ending, so they couldn't use that ending. So they go back and redo the ending, but they didn't want to completely redo the ending, so they kind of like half did the ending that leaked because everyone already knew it. It just was a mess. It's like the Wolverine cut.
Yeah.
Like once that
Yes.
leaked online, just cancel the movie because you're not going to recover from
Yeah.
that.
There's
No.
no canceling it though. It's like the train's too far down the tracks. You just gotta like let it be what it is.
You can
at
only
that
hope
point.
that someday they release the Snyder cut of Terminator Salvation.
Yeah, we can all hope. I have two random side notes for us. One, Danielle, is that in your mind palace to include in your vision of the Lorenzo Lamas Terminator Salvation, know
there.
this. I once rented what was formerly his love shack and lived in it in Laurel Canyon.
We're gonna have a real long talk about
There's
that.
a talk that's going to happen over
That's
Spooky
a
later.
different SJU video. Like that's its own thing.
And two, here's a rumor for us that I think that we should engage in. So you know how there were the giant robots in Salvation?
Yep.
And one of the Transformers movies was coming out at the same time. And apparently, Michael Bay was so pissed off that Mick G had the balls to try and include giant robots, which is clearly his thing.
Who ever
in
heard of a
his
giant
movie.
robot before?
How dare you include giant robots that he built? A Terminator that, for no good reason, at the last minute that this was included in the film, was a human. Which
Oh, is that why
that was
weird blonde
Oh, and in
seduction lady?
Transformers 2?
in Transformers 2. Apparently, that may have been one of the motivating
I hate
factors.
that makes
for
me
that
like
random-
that
I
more.
look, I enjoy a good bit of
That it was-
pettiness with billions of dollars.
That
Yeah,
was just like
I
a
mean,
big
yeah.
F you to McG.
It certainly explains a lot about Transformers 2.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
Michael Bay's pettiness, which really kind of explains the whole Transformers franchise when you think about it.
You know, I bet just a lot of people went up to him and said, "Don't do it," and he goes, "Oh, really? Well, watch this then," and then just does Transformers 2.
Can we one week? Can we
beautifully-
spend a few days gathering like petty stories from
Yes.
Hollywood? Like this happened because petty, and
I
I
have to
want to
come
do
back
a
for
full
that.
episode about
Pettiness,
that.
yeah.
I have
Okay,
to
good.
come back for that.
Yeah, because I want to do a whole episode, and you guys can help us with
About
this.
you living in Lorenzo Lamas's love shack. Love
that's
shack?
a whole story that we can talk about. He wasn't there. Like, I wasn't part of
Oh.
his love harem, but in your mind palace, I was.
Oh, it is now. Forever.
I just heard the story about. I've never seen a single episode of a Kevin James show. However, I was scrolling around last night trying to find something funny to watch.
Well, you
Oh, you were
failed.
looking down the wrong.
And I felt, and then I
You
saw
were in the wrong part of the forest, right?
I was on Amazon and I was going through like recommended TV comedies, and I saw a picture of Kevin James. I was like, oh, he's got a new show, but apparently it's like 2 or 3 years old.
Kevin can wait. Yeah.
Kevin can wait. Yes.
And apparently it could.
And this is what happened that I never heard about. I'm super late to this pettiness party, but they killed off the
Yep.
woman who played his wife
Yes.
in order to have Leah Remini come on as his boss because he couldn't have a boss and a wife. Like, how does that make sense?
Well,
I
I
thought
heard
it
it was
was-
a
yeah.
budget thing. Like
Was
they
it a
had to
budget
hire
thing?
Leah Remini, and she
Because
cost
of the
a certain
chemistry
amount
or
of money.
whatever.
My favorite thing, I didn't see it, but my favorite thing is literally I read a description of it. The way that they did it was like Kevin Can Wait season whatever 2 ends, and he's married with a wife.
This is so
Over
funny.
the hiatus, they hire Leah Remini and they go to the actress that played the wife and like, sorry, bye. And I've heard that the first episode of season 3 is literally like he gets something from the gym in the mail, and he's like, "Oh, it's my wife's gym membership. I miss her so much since she died." Anyway,
Yep, that's how they did it. That's
How they did it?
Yep.
That's how
Have
they
you
did
seen
it.
the show? No. Oh.
I want to know what you've been watching where it goes into your recommendeds.
No, it wasn't in my recommendeds. It wasn't like in my. I'm being very honest. I've like never seen a Kevin James. I've seen Hitch. That's it. So there's It was like not my personal recommendeds, but it was like Amazon recommends these comedies, and I was just scrolling around looking for a new comedy because I was done with The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which Joe Starr. Tell me how you feel about that program.
It was a good show. It's worth watching. You should watch that show.
Thank you,
Go
because
watch
It's a
that
good
show.
show.
that's another one
It's
that I
fun.
thought you guys might.
Also,
like.
if you haven't started Runaways yet, Runaways is so good.
I did start Runaways.
No? Oh, my heart's breaking. We'll talk about that later.
All right,
It's so
that's for
good.
another show. Billy's ready to do murder on me, so I will probably
Where was
wrap
this Kevin
this one
James
up.
thing going? Is it just the
Just being
the whole
petty?
thing with his wife?
Yeah, well,
Pettiness?
so this is
Pettiness.
what I was like, oh, I want to find other like, like murder caused by petty on sitcoms,
Yeah.
like dark sitcom
Yeah,
stories.
just full Lori Petty.
Just
yeah.
like full dark sitcom origins.
I'm in on this.
Yeah?
I
Let's
want
do it.
in on this.
All right, you guys let us know what you think, what dark origins you want to see in the comments below, be they Lorenzo Lamas or otherwise. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye.
It'll be Wednesday.
Wednesday. Just a Wednesday.
JT, end the show.
Come on.